Okay, Monday, May 5th, 2025, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Call to order meeting of the Sebastian Budget Review Advisory Committee. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Napier?
Present.
Mr. Hoffman is not present. Mr. Hall?
Present.
Mr. McGinn?
Here.
Mr. Middleton? He's not present. Ms. Reed is excused tonight. Mr. Baker?
Present.
Mr. Garden?
Present.
And Ms. Jacob, she is not present. Thank you.
Okay, we've got, where's my list? Give me a second here. Sharon called in. Here it is. Grace called and requested an excused absence for tonight. It's, any objections? And we also now have Susan. As an alternate. Did anyone else call in requesting an unexcused? Just Ms. Reed. Any objections to her having an excused for tonight? All in favor? Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, meeting of March 2024.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Next item is the review of the fiscal year 2024 fourth quarter and fiscal year 2025 first and second quarter budget amendment reports. Anybody have any discussions? Let's start with this end here.
Asking for comments?
Comments, yes.
None at this time. I thought.
Can't hear you.
The finance director is going to give you a little overview.
You care to do an overview before we?
Yes, on the budget amendments, what you had in your packet attached was 3 different quarters of budget amendments.
Yep.
It was the fourth quarter of 2024, which was July 1st through September 30th, 2024. So that was the first one. And that was a long one because it was year end, so there was a lot of cleanup to do and getting everything cleaned up. Then you have the first quarter of 2025, which is October 1 through December 31st, 2024. And then the last one in your packet would have been the second quarter of fiscal year 2025, which is January 1 through March 31st, 2025. So that would get us caught up on all budget amendments, you know, since Ken was out and get everybody caught up. Now the format is probably a little different than you're used to. I changed it up a little bit at the first section of each of the budget amendments. you're going to have adjustments which affect fund balance or reserves, which requires council approval. And you'll see there's a column that shows council approval date in each of those. And that would show if the council has previously discussed the amendment and made motions to approve whatever that item was. So I would add the date there. And then if you see pending, then those are the items that the council has not approved yet. So that this is items that would need to go to council, but first they have to come to this committee for approval. So you've got those with each quarter, and then the second half of each of the amendments would be adjustments not affecting fund balance or reserves. And so you'll see there's a manager approval date on that. So the city manager has approved these transfers, and they're basically usually transfers within line items that don't specifically need council approval. However, we've put them on this report, and that's the way Ken had said he had been doing it, is putting items of significance on this report. But all items that affect fund balance will be here, but significant items within line items you'll see in the bottom section of each of those. You'll notice that on the first one, you have the things that we're looking at approving is a lot of project changes, and you'll have some project cleanups. You've got some changes with where we had to dip into what we call the reserves for maintenance, the R&R, and those are reserves that are set aside each year during the budget process just for maintenance items, things that come up that are unforeseen, such as an AC unit breaking down, things like that. And so we would do a budget adjustment for those items. And that's where you'll see the R&Rs. Then you have, sometimes you'll have additional expenses, as you would see, closeout, especially in the September 30th when we try to close out as much as we can. So there was a lot of project closeouts that caused the budget to need adjusting. Also to note, just to be able to read this a little better, there's a note at the bottom of the first section that talks about the appropriation from reserves account is a reduction of the reserves fund balance account and therefore shown as a negative. So when you see a line item that shows appropriation from general reserves, for example, you'll see a beginning negative, and then the adjustment and the ending balance is probably going to be a negative. And what happens is you have your reserves, but that appropriation is an account which takes from the reserves, more like a revenue code. So that's the reason for that explanation. You do have some various items, and looking at the September 30th down in the line item adjustments, some large ones, contributions and donations revenue with sale of a property of $1,050,000. So the budget was adjusted for that. Okay, looking back at the top section of each of those, you'll see at the bottom I've put in a line for net increase or decrease to reserves or fund balance. So like in the first section on September 30th adjustment, you'll see that $450,824. So of all these adjustments that affected fund balance, net increase to fund balance of $450,824. Then on the December 31st quarter, you had a net decrease to fund balance reserves of $159,448. And on the March 31st quarter, you had a net increase of $29,812. So that pretty much covers that. I will like a motion to approve these, and I'll take any questions. I think Mr. Brian Benton is on Zoom, and he can help us answer any questions as well. since I
Actually,
wasn't here.
before we get to any motions and discussions on this, I'd like to ask about the format that we just got. This gives us information on the fund balance additions or deletions from it, but it really doesn't give me personally, and I'm not sure about the rest of the board, enough information to really understand the budget, which direction we're going, how the current budget is doing, so that we can get a feel for what we think
Yes,
the
so
future budget should
this is
be.
not a report on the budget. This is simply amendments and adjustments to the original budget. So you have
Okay.
the original budget, which is passed, and that's presented, as a whole. And then throughout the year, we need to make minor adjustments to it. That's what this is. So this isn't
Well,
a major budget.
that's the problem with the way it's presented here. It's difficult to follow the items that were increased or decreased, why they were increased or decreased. Before we got a report that would show they moved funds from one line item to another and the reason for it. We also had an expenditure report, financial report is what your predecessor called it, which showed us where we were in the budget, percentage-wise, are we running ahead or behind? Without that information, I personally could not make any or give any advice to the city council on a budget. It's just not enough information for me personally. Now, I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels about that, but
I agree. I brought a copy of the one from last fall, and in effect, what we always got was what I call one level above the chart of accounts. So in effect, we were able to follow down each individual area, like personnel services or operating expenses, capital outlay by department. And we spent a lot of time looking at it, especially some of the old timers. And I came tonight to ask if we're going to see this again, or is this a total change?
Well, I'm still working on it. This is a work in progress. There was a stack of papers, like no
All
joke,
right.
this tall, that I had to catch up on.
I understand.
That's what
Just
this
wanted
is
to
doing.
impart
is
to
getting
you
those
that,
caught up with your amendments.
Yes.
This is not reporting on the progress of the budget or how the budget's doing or anything like that. I haven't got into that yet. So
Okay.
I can work with you on getting some reports that you want to look at.
well, I suggest you look at what was presented to us before, because over the years, it was pared down to this, what we were currently getting.
Set of summaries, yes.
Mr.
And
Chairman?
yes,
May I speak?
Mr. Napier.
Brian, what they're talking about is an income statement. The quarterly income statement that showed the revenues from all departments, all funds, and the expenditures associated therewith.
Okay, yes, I'm actually working on that for the council.
Yeah.
A report to summarize.
It appeared to be an Excel spreadsheet that they gave us. It was an income statement. I don't think it was directly printed out of the general ledger. It appeared to be an Excel report of some kind. And it showed, well, it gave us everything we needed to look at. It had all the income and all the associated expenditures for each quarter. This just shows the changes in it. Because what I had to do was
all
go
it
back to, I had to go back to the original adopted budget and look at it. So it's if we could get an income statement, that would be a big help. I know it's going to probably going to take you a while to get caught up.
And it's quite a bit
I'm sure
to
of
it.
that.
It's quite a bit to it that we got, but it had been pared down over the years to this format, which gave us the information that we needed to be able to see where we were moving, ahead, behind in certain areas. I can't tell from what was presented tonight.
Yeah, the report you're talking about then, that, I haven't finished that yet. I'm still working on it. I'm trying to get this out.
Well, this
as I get
report
time.
you gave us makes sense if you go back to the original budget. because you can see the change, it shows the changes in it.
Right. But if you use the format that we were currently getting, all of that information you provided us would be in that report. So you pretty much could do away with this and incorporate it into what we'd previously been getting. That's what I'd like to see. What say the board? Mr. Napier?
But my analysis in looking at it, it appeared we're in good financial shape through the first 2 quarters of the fiscal 25.
Yes, sir.
Brian, Mr. Chairman,
Take the floor.
I appreciate what you are trying to eat an elephant one bite at a time, I guess would be a good expression. And Ken did have 150 years to get this done. But I would like to see some information that says going forward, as you get caught up, that we get to see that income statement. And I have all the previous ones, and I'm sure Larry does. And I don't know if Ken prepared those himself or whether his staff did. Do you know? Ken did it all himself. One level below what you gave us would help. All the way back to what I call the one level above chart of accounts, because it was basically the income statement. I think going forward, we're not going to be able to just live with the over and under budget changes. But then, and I want to say something carefully, and that is, most of the people on the board, after they've been here a year at least, really look close at this stuff, and then they can make recommendations to the council. When it's finally presented to the council, they have so much on their plate, they don't look as close. And I just would hate to see us get into a situation like some of the other counties that we've been reading about. So if this committee is going to look at the financials, we have to see the financials.
It appears that what we were getting in the past was in a format that he most likely presented it to the city council anyhow. So ours may have been pared down a little bit, which was fine because it had a lot of information that we didn't really need. But as a minimum, we definitely need an income statement to be able to tell where we're going. I just picked one item off yours, and it says establish budget for solid waste fund. Okay. Funds were transferred. Budget adjustment was made. From where to where?
If that's the same one that I looked at, and it's at the top of the March 31st adjustments affecting fund balances, and it's $1,900,000. It says solid waste collection fees reversed and trash pickup handling pending. My question is that money that the city's spending, or is that money the city's collecting, and where did this come from?
So,
That's the kind of example.
I'll give you another example. You have one here, the police department patrol vessel. $125 budget adjustment. And on the previous page, I see it was a grant. What are the terms of the grant? Are the officers trained in the vessel? Do we have the vessel? How many does it take to run the vessel? Do we have to hire additional officers? These are questions that aren't answered on the document presented to us.
no, sir. This is, like I said, these are just adjustments to the original.
Right.
And I was not here during that time, so I don't have the knowledge, you're necessarily looking for to answer all the detail of the questions.
Well, I'm not trying to rake you over the coals, but I'm just trying to impress upon you that We need additional information.
Of course. I
What,
mean, this was never intended to be a budget report for you to analyze how the budget is doing. This is simply to try and get us caught up to the amendments that's already been made. But I can certainly work with the board to get them whatever information they want.
I've got a copy of the last one, or one that we'd gotten in the past, if you want to have it.
I am too.
I have the quarterly reports, if that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
Yes, the city manager and I have been working to try and neck those down to useful information, and that's what I was saying I was currently working on that I have not completed yet.
Some of the graphs and all that were presented before are unnecessary for me, but the line items, the departments, and the feedback from the staff on their departments as to what they're doing. Sometimes you can tell if they're if they're saying they're understaffed, overstaffed, so we can glean that out by looking at what's presented. So that's be my recommendation that we get in the future. While we have you, can you, or do you have any information on that grant for the patrol vessel?
Mr. Chair, if I may, this is Brian Benton, City Manager. Can you hear me?
Yep, yes.
Yes, just barely.
So I just want to answer a couple things. In regards to Mr. McGinn's item in regard to the waste management, this was the first year that we have collected that via the non-ad valorem tax assessment. And so we knew going into this that we were going to start out in the hole with a deficit because we would have to collect tax money or non-ad valorem assessments from the tax collector. And then we still had to pay, starting in October, we had to pay waste management. So what you're seeing on that transfer is a transfer of the funds that the city has received to establish that account. So we started off with a deficit, and then once we had received the roughly $1.9 million, which was within, I think, the first 2 or 3 months of collections, we then established the solid waste account. So that's the establishment of that account, Mr. McGinn, but that is from received non-ad valorem assessments from the tax collector.
Oh, thanks.
Then to go into the police boat, that was a budgeted item. We had budgeted $250,000. The city received a Florida Inland and Navigation District grant, which was a 50-50 grant, $125,000 from fund, $125,000 from the city within our discretionary sales tax fund. So that where you're seeing that is where we established that account when we received those grant funding. We established an account for $250,000. The boat came in under budget. The boat is here. We just can't close out the account until all of everything's paid and all of that. The city received the boat in January, late December, early January. So we do have that boat. On your previous documentation that you would have received, it would not have shown whether we needed additional staff. That would all came during the budget cycle. Our plan was not for additional staff in regards to the police boat. We have staff that was already allocated in the police department that was part of our Marine Patrol unit that we had to buy a new boat. So that's where that came into play, is the purchase of a new boat. But I'm here to answer any questions you all have in regards to this. And I just want to, reiterate what Brian said. He's been overwhelmed. We've been doing a lot of things. We're in the middle of our budget season right now for developing for the next fiscal year. So what you're seeing tonight are only the transfers. You're not seeing the full in-depth report that we will continue to work on. We are going to shorten that report up. That quarterly report involved a lot of information from a lot of departments that was really unnecessary. We'll still continue to track it, but it took a lot of man hours from our staff to develop those reports. You'll get the financial information, but a lot of other stuff in the report will continue to be tracked by the city, but will no longer go within the quarterly report.
Brian, I have a couple of questions in response to what you said. The first one is, Is the council, is the council going to be presented with the quarterly forecast in a different form than we're seeing it, or is this what they're getting until Brian can get caught up?
Yeah, so we have had discussions with city council when Brian first came on board about reducing the size of the quarterly report. To say what that final measure is going to look like will be a little different, but you all will get the same information that they're getting. So we'll take these budget adjustments to them. We'll provide them information in regards to where we currently are financially. If you all watched, I think it was either the last council meeting or the meeting before, our audit reports came in. Everything was really good. We had solved, taken care of a couple issues from the previous year. I think we had 8 or 9, and we had solved 7 of them already. This year we had a couple issues, but nothing that was affecting our books. It was more along the line of some tracking mechanisms. And so all of those have already been taken care of for this fiscal year. By the time the audit was presented to council. So yes, there will be some more detailed information that comes out. But right now we're trying to, as you all are aware, you know where we're at in our budget process. We've received all of our CIP requests. We're within our operating budget. Requests are starting to come in now. So all of that's going to be heavily worked into this, but you all will see where we're currently at in the fiscal year as we go forward to your next meeting. And if you all feel we need to have another meeting, we can do that, and we can prepare something from that measure for the financials for you all. But the change, what you're seeing now in the budget amendments, those are the details that have always been provided. It was just in a different format.
Well, the thing is, we're used to getting more information in the past. I understand you've had personnel changes. It's just going forward, I personally would like to see more information close to what we had been getting. We're not, at least I'm not here to criticize or pick at the staff. I like to look at the numbers, and sure, it can be coming in really well, but is it going in a direction that I might personally, or maybe my neighbors, feel like we ought to be going in another direction? And this is an opportunity for us to put that information out there for edification of the city council. And that, to me, is what I feel like my job is here. We're in good shape, but a lot of people might think we need more roads or something, or more, another item. And if that's it, that's our opportunity to bring that up and say, hey, can we spend more here or less there? And that's just out there for advisement. Not to say you're doing anything incorrectly or should be done a different way, just adding another look at things. Having said that, do we have any discussions? Let's start on the end.
No, just we'll receive the proposed budget from the city in early July, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, yep. I think that's where you get the most comments.
Okay. Next.
Back to Brian for a minute. Brian, if Ken's reports were all regenerations of the chart of accounts or the basic income statement, then somewhere in the department within the city, the raw data, the chart of accounts and this raw data has to be available on whatever your financial statements are. I'm just wondering if it would take pressure off of Brian and help us if you could transfer some of the pages that he created his income statement from, because he didn't invent the income statement. It was already written down within the accounting system. And having done this quite a few times myself, I would think that there's a printout, but I'll pick just one small example. City Council personal operating expenses or Code Enforcement Division operating expense total. That information got into his reports from your basic financial system. So is it possible to just print the data and save Brian the trouble of trying to transfer it all, or maybe he could hire 4 more people for the accounting department?
I mean,
No, I mean, I want to say, I mean, and the same thing for yourself and Chairman Hall. We hear your concerns. I'm not discounting those. We will work to get those forms and everything, that data input for you. It's something that we pull on a monthly basis. Our department heads get their current up-to-date budget on a monthly basis. They can pull it on a daily basis. So that's not something that's difficult. It's difficult to start to put it into the format that you all were receiving a little bit, but I told Brian, he got his priorities from me on where we needed to go and get things moving. Remember, he's been with us about 2-3 months now, so he's had to tackle quite a few things on his book. So, that I'll take the full responsibility of not providing all those details because, I told him our priority is we got to get our budget amendments in place. Then we can update on where we currently are on the budget. So we will do that and we will get that information to you all as we continue to go forward. And we'll make sure it's in a format that you all find acceptable and easily, readable for you all as we go forward.
That'd be greatly appreciated. Comments and end? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
You're talking to me,
Yes.
Roy.
Oh.
I have to just echo what you're saying. I see a lot of these grants here. I understand where they're coming from.
I don't think your microphone's on.
I'm pushing there. Can you hear me now? All right. Yes, I was just on a lot of these grants, more specific information as to where the grants are coming from, other than we're just grants, as you were saying on perhaps on an income statement, be more specific as to what those grants are. And secondly, as you're going into this year, because I've been to a couple council meetings, there's a lot of fear about some of these grants actually coming through due to a lot of budget cuts from both the federal government as well as state level. Is there any, for lack of a better word, contingency plans in place in case those grants don't come through? How are they going to affect the budget? If the city council themselves is echoing like we're not sure if we're going to get the money or not due to, budget cuts, what's the contingency plan?
So we do not expend funds until we have been awarded and completed all signatures on the grant documents. So if, a lot of these things that we are going after grants for are projects that if we don't receive the grant funding, those projects do not go forward unless council makes the determination to allocate additional funding. That's where we will work through the budget process. It'll be clear that certain projects, I'll use Riverview Park Master Plan as a perfect example. If we are unable to allocate or receive the $1.5 million grant that we were awarded last summer from the federal government, if we do not receive that amount, then the decision has to be made. We have allocated $1.5 million over the course of 3 years as a match in discretionary sales tax. Is council willing to continue to have that allocation in there without the match, and then we only identify $1.5 million worth of improvements within that project, or do they want to totally eliminate the project since we can't do the full $3 million in upgrades? Those are things that all have to come down once we get the formal documentation or don't receive the formal documentation or the award. But I can tell you, whenever anything has grant funding involved in it, if we don't receive the grant funding, no funds are expended until we receive the grant funding.
Good.
Susan?
I do, well, I'm new to this board. I'm not new to county budgeting or government budgeting and all. But we being asked to take action tonight on this without the additional information? Is that we're going to be approving, you're asking us to approve these budget amendments with?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Is that, I understand your position being dropped into this. And then so that's one question. The other thing is, because of sunshine law, I haven't asked anybody, but what happened here? Why are we in this position with a new budget person? Did somebody just leave in haste? I would just like an explanation on that to help me here.
Well, it's
It
not
was
always
anything but
easy to
haste.
replace a finance director. I mean,
The agenda
sometimes,
says review. It doesn't say anything about approving anything.
Oh, I thought he asked that we had to approve them to move forward. Is that incorrect? Or is that semantics?
To make a recommendation to council, let me ask the city manager, would you like a recommendation to move forward to city council, or?
Yeah, so I'll speak on both of those items. The first one is, yes, we are asking you to make a recommendation, or if you want to postpone it and then have us bring additional information back. I can tell you the additional information doesn't affect the budget amendments. What you'll see is an up-to-date budget, but it's not going to affect the amendments that took place within these documents. That's not going to be affected at all. One of them is still from Q4 of fiscal year 24, which is pretty much closed out. The other item is, the first 2 quarters of this year. And what we can do is, if you all want the additional information, we can, postpone this, decision tonight. We'll table it and we'll bring it back to a future meeting for your discussion. But I don't know that the additional information that you're requesting changes what's before you tonight. Our request is that you make a recommendation to approve the budget amendments as presented to City Council. On the second item in regards to the finance director, Mr. Kilgore had been with us. Sorry, I'm going to forget the number of years, but over 20 years with the city and over 50 years in government finance within the state of Florida. He agreed to stay on with us part-time to try to help us get through the gap of finding a finance director. We found Mr. Stewart, who was a great choice for the city. He's someone who is bringing in new ideas, new fresh approach to our, system. And it just took a little bit of time. And that's why the delays continue to happen, because we were concentrating so heavily on our budget, getting that established, and then continuing to move the city forward with all the projects and stuff that we have going on, that typically you would have received the Q4 at your last meeting, and at this meeting you would have had quarters 1 and 2. So we're not that far behind in this process. We're just a little delayed in it, yes.
that answer your question, Susan? Yes, thank you. Mr. Napier?
The way I see it, these schedules that you gave us, Brian, are parts of a resolution that the city council has already adopted, correct?
No, sir.
It says here on a couple of them that the city council's adopted them.
As
Some are
individual line items, the city council has
Oh, the
approved
original, oh, okay.
but this is the formal budget amendment to what they've
Well,
already
if you go back
approved.
to the original adopted budget, these things give you a lot of information. They tell you what the change was in each particular thing. You just have to go find them in the budget.
Yes, and the only
Which
documentation.
I did. I didn't have any problem with it, but I would like to see an income statement as well. That's all.
Okay.
Mr. Hall,
Yes,
could I make one additional comment?
go ahead.
I want to make 2 comments that would reflect, I think, where we're at. I was told when I first joined this 3 years ago or 4 years ago, there were 2 things that happened. One is that we're not here to change any of the course of the management within the city and the city staff, but we're here to review the budget as presented. Because sometimes we get in the habit of trying to change an amendment or a resolution or something that we think should be different, and that's not the job of the committee. The second thing I wanted to mention was that I attend every single city council meeting, have for 4 years. I would say that 50 or 70 or 80% of everything that's on this budgeted piece of paper has already been discussed by Brian with the city council members in the council, and it's all a matter of public record, and it's on video. Everything about Brian has spent hours with the city council explaining all of the grants. And so as a committee member, I feel obligated to watch or attend every city council meeting, and they're all on video. And it makes a big difference understanding the history and what's going forward. And I guess the last thing I would say is that if we are going, we can make recommendations, but maybe it should be a recommendation stating that we'll accept what's presented, but we really need to see more. And that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
That it?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Mr. Stewart. So looking at the big picture for the last 3 quarters, do I read this correctly that we have a net increase to the reserves of around 300,000? Is that how the math works out?
Are you talking about actual numbers or budget?
Taking the summaries from each quarter, net increase, net decrease, I come up with around $320,000
I think it's
increase to the reserves.
I think it's a net increase pending board approval of the adjustments.
Right. So,
Well, there were 2 different budgets now. You have the quarter 4 of the last fiscal year, that was one budget. It ended, and that was an increase of $450,824.
right.
And then in the current year, 2025 budget, you have those 2 quarters available, which was, the first one was a decrease of the 159,448, and then a slight increase of 29,812, and that's
Right.
changes to budgeted fund balance. But this doesn't compare to actual in any way. That's what I am working on to get reports to you guys and the council of comparisons of budget to actual and prior year to current year, and getting you some good data to look at.
Any more comments? None? Well, I feel that the budget, fund balance, and everything is positive. My only feeling is that I'm a little uncomfortable without the reports that we talked about, because I'm here to analyze what's being presented by your staff to the city council, and if there's something in there I think should be brought forward as hopefully as a positive, as a recommendation, I'd be able to make that if I had additional information. And that's the only reason I'm looking for additional information, because having a balanced budget going forward is all fine, but if we don't get input that might be addition in one area or deletion in another area, if we don't have that information to impart to you, then I don't see why there's a need for this board. And so that's the reason I'm asking for myself, and hopefully the rest of the board, for additional information.
I agree. You need information to be able to function. Now, it's my understanding that you haven't had one of these quarterly reports in about a year or more. Is that correct? When is the last quarterly report? Do you know? I can look it up, but I'm just curious how far back you want me to go. Do you want me to start at the current 2025 budget?
I'd like
just
to
get
see
you
it
that
going
information?
Going forward.
Huh?
Going forward.
Just current year budget information is what you're looking for. See, that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, can I take somebody make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 fourth quarter budget amendment?
So moved.
Second?
Yes, I moved.
Yeah. So you got a motion and second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Need a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2025 first quarter budget amendment? Can I get a motion? Motion,
I motioned it.
second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's approved. Need a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 second quarter budget amendment as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimous, yeah, everybody voted for it. My mouth is dry. Next item. The next meeting date is scheduled for July 21st. Anyone have any conflict with that date?
Yes, sir. I'll be out of town that day.
Okay.
I will be out the whole month of July, so just like
I'll
every
be
year.
out, but the meeting's on Zoom, so if anybody can attend on Zoom, then that's, I believe that's still acceptable.
Okay, how many do we need for a quorum again?
4.
4?
I think Zoom counts as part of the quorum, doesn't it?
4 is a quorum, right, Jeanette?
Yes, but you have to
Yeah.
have 4 people here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You got 5 regular members by council, and you got 2 at large.
I will be out of state that particular date. If it's the week before, we're good.
And your name again? I forgot.
Scott Baker.
You
Scott.
got your 2 alternates.
Oh, this, okay, Scott, you're going to be,
I'll be out, but, so I won't be part of the quorum, but I will be on Zoom, definitely, on Zoom.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Larry, you're going to be out. So Mr. Napier is going to be out. He's going to request a excused absence. I have a letter here from Scott Baker requesting an excused absence. And Terry,
Yeah.
you want an excused absence?
I will want an excused absence for July.
And on that,
How about Mr. Hoffman? Does anybody have any information on Mr. Hoffman?
well, I have a problem with that day too. I'll be riding vintage trains in Colorado that week, so
Oh, my.
I won't be here either.
So maybe we need to change the date.
So we've only got 2 present that will be here, and we're missing Bruce, and who else?
Grace.
Grace Reed, Bruce Hoffman, and Mr. Middleton,
We need
Bill Middleton.
2 of those 3 to be here to have a quorum, or we need to change the date. Are there any other available dates?
Mr. Chair, this is Brian again. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So we will not be able to have that meeting before then because we'll just be finishing up the budget probably the week before, maybe 2 weeks before. So Brian and I will take a look at it and see if maybe we can push it back a week. Does that help any of you that are not able to attend on the 21st? Can you all kind of let us know what your availability is the next week or later that week?
If you could send out an email to all the members requesting feedback for a date that you could set for it, maybe the week after the
Okay,
the 28th.
Yeah, Brian and I will take a look at it and we'll get it sorted out and figure it out for you all.
I need to be put down as of right now for an excused absence unless it's changed. Okay. Everyone comfortable with that? Okay.
Sure.
Any other business? None? Call the meeting adjourned.